Hello. Today I'm going to talk about Enneagram, but I am going to relate it to MBTI as well, at least for parts of the video. So Enneagram is another system, another typing system basically, that divides people into types, and it's very different than MBTI in the sense that it's more about what someone wants and values than about how the brain works, because MBTI is more about how does your brain function. And that's why I feel like it's really useful to use both Enneagram and MBTI together, because I feel like they really complement each other. Because it's like you can use MBTI for like how does my brain work, and then Enneagram for like what's your main motivation in life, that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna talk about my own type, which is Enneagram Type 4. And what I really want to do is kind of discuss what it's like being a 4 as an INFJ, being a 4 in general, and clear up a few misconceptions that I kind of felt like I needed to address, at least from my own perspective as a 4. So, first of all, I wanted to talk about something that I hear a lot of people say, and that is that 4s want to be unique, special, quirky. 4s want to stand out. And personally, from my experience, that is not true, and it kind of creates like a wrong image of 4s, in my opinion, where we are kind of portrayed as the people who want to be quirky, who want to be different from others, just for the sake of being different, which is very much, in my opinion, not how it is. But I will explain how it really is, and I also understand that it might be really difficult to really understand what it's like being a 4 when you're not one yourself, because we are kind of a strange type to understand, maybe. But what might help, if you're also into MBTI, you might want to relate it to the function introverted feeling. Okay, so people often say that 4 is correlated with introverted feeling, but it's also correlated generally with a lot of things, with being misunderstood, with introverted feeling, with feeling in general, with being introverted in general, which is why a lot of INF types are 4s, and a lot of types who have strong introverted feeling are also 4s. So, for example, INFP, ISFP, INFJ, and INFJ, even though we don't have introverted feeling, are going to be 4s because we're often misunderstood, because we're dominant intuitives and introverts, which makes us different from a lot of people. For example, dominant intuition is not very common, and then being extroverted is also more common than being introverted. I feel like having dominant introverted intuition can definitely make INFJs feel like they don't fit in. And then, of course, D4 is a very introspective type and a very emotional type. And that's why introverted types who are also feelers are likely to become 4s. So try to look at 4s as the embodiment of introverted feeling, basically. Introverted feeling is not about wanting to stand out. It's about wanting to be yourself, being yourself no matter what. It's about identity. It's about living according to your own values, your own principles. But again, it's about identity. So I want to talk about this. 4s don't care about being special. They care about being true to themselves. And if that is, if a 4 is being true to themselves 100%, and they notice that other people are doing exactly the same thing, for example, you're 4 and you encounter someone who's exactly the same, we are not going to feel like we need to change in order to stand out again. We don't care if we don't stand out because everyone else is similar to us. because that's not what it's about. It's about representing ourselves, expressing who we are. And fours don't look outwards to, am I different from people? They look inwards. They look inwards to who am I, and how am I going to express that? Fours spend a lot of time kind of reflecting on who they are, what's important to them, who they want to be.
The thing is that if it would be the case that we would choose to incorporate traits into our identity simply because they seem to be different from most people, that would not be an authentic thing to do. It needs to be based on things we actually care about ourselves. So other fours, let me know if you relate or not, or if I'm just a weird four or something. But I really feel like fours really care a lot about authenticity.
And yes, I do want to address one thing. Unhealthy fours might kind of get this idea in their head of maybe they are better than other people and they are special in that sense. But that's only for unhealthy fours, because that's not what they want. They don't want to be different, not really. What we want is to connect with others, but we feel like we can't because we're too different, basically. But we don't want to be different. We want to connect. And I think that's a thing for like the heart triad. 2s and 3s have the same problem, but they try to solve it in different ways. And for 4s, their coping mechanism, is kind of to try and show people who we are. But I think what we do is kind of maybe exaggerate the things about us that we think are good things, like exaggerate the good things and try to show that to people. Try to show people who we are, because we feel like if we don't do that we won't be valued. But all these things that we try to show is all real, it's all about who we really believe that we are. There's nothing fake about it. And I just wanted to make that clear, because I feel like if people only describe fours as wanting to be unique, people are going to think that it's fake, and we're not going to change that. So I want to emphasize that who we are is not going to change, at least for me. I know that over the years I might express myself in different ways, but who I am never changed, not really. Maybe in small ways, but the most important things will always stay the same. And I think that's the thing for fours, they're not going to adapt. They're not chameleons who adapt according to their environment and are like, well, I don't stand out anymore, so I'm just gonna change how I present myself, because that's not what we would do. Because who we are doesn't change. It's solid. It's something that will always stay the same, because it comes from within. And we care about being this word that I tried to pronounce it several times and I failed. So we care about being real, being ourselves. And yes, if we are different from others, we might not care. We might actually be proud of it, but it's still going to be real. It's going to be representing who we are, because we care about our identity. We don't mind it if we do stand out, and most fours probably are going to stand out at least somewhat, because every individual is unique and complex. So if you're going to be yourself no matter what other people expect, then yes, you might stand out, but that's not something that we aim for. We aim for just showcasing our heart, basically, like wearing our heart on our sleeves. Because I don't want people to see us as shallow, because we're one of the most introspective and self-aware types. And so again, I already talked about the fact that who I am never really changes, not really. But I also want to use myself as an example. I notice, when I do meet people who are similar to me, for example, they have very similar goals, or they have very similar values or opinions about things, or maybe they just express themselves in similar ways. When I encounter people like that, I never felt bad about it ever. I actually felt really happy whenever that happens. Because I think for fours, we care about real connections with people. So I would just be happy that I could connect with someone on a deep level. And I'm not gonna be like, oh no, they stole my identity, and now I need to change who I am. Now I need to change myself in order to be special again or something. It's like, no, I'm always happy when people are similar to me, because I'm like, we have shared values, we care about the same things, and that's special to me, when I care about the same things that someone else cares about. And the reason why we are happy is because it's about who we are. It's not about being different. It's about who we are that matters to us. So if someone's similar, we're just happy, because that means that someone understands us, that someone has the same values, that we can connect. We care about expressing ourselves, but the things we express are really, really important to us. So it's all about being real. It's not about being fake. And fours try to show who they are, and maybe just the things about themselves that they like, because we fear that if we don't do that, people won't see us, and people will not value us because they never saw us. So in terms of our flaws, we can definitely be overly emotional and too idealistic and think too much, which is even more the case when you're also a 5 wing. So I also wanted to say about this thing of being an INFJ and a 4 but not having introverted feeling. So I feel like it can be hard to be a 4 but not have strong introverted feeling at all. Instead we are being driven by extroverted feeling most of the time. So I feel like for us INFJs, there is a tendency to want to look at other people too much and be afraid of being judged, and kind of trying to fit in, just being too influenced by others and other people's opinions. So yeah, I feel like sometimes we can act on extrovert feeling and introverted thinking when we actually needed to act on introverted feeling. And as a 4, that can kind of hurt sometimes, because it can mean that you don't always align in your behavior with your values, because you thought that the opinion of other people mattered more for extrovert feeling than your own value, or you thought that your own logical reasoning, introverted thinking, mattered more. For example, sometimes I might feel like I have a value, but my introverted thinking doesn't really know how to explain it. And on top of that, if there's some kind of pressure from people who don't have the same opinion, then it can be difficult to act on our values because we don't have strong introverted feeling. But I also feel like that kind of drives INFJs, who are also 4s, to kind of develop our introverted feeling more, maybe than INFJs who are not 4s. This might also lead to, for example, INFJs who are 4s, if you compare them with, for example, INFPs who are 4s, then the INFJs might still fit in more, because they still are influenced by that extrovert feeling. And we kind of have to learn to be less influenced by that, and not being afraid to be ourselves, because we, as 4s, we do really care about being true to ourselves. So that's all that I wanted to say about fours. I hope that the fours out there relate, and for everyone who is not a four, I hope that it could help giving a bit of insight in what it's like to be a four. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.